We always take time to talk about the good and the bad on this channel, whether it be a movie series, a game series, whatever we are talking about. Things that I love, things that I don't love. Today I wanted to take a look at Batman Arkham once again and talk about something that I really didn't love. Something that I feel like was a huge wasted opportunity and a dropped ball, and that was the Bat family. The Bat family has actually gone on to encompass a huge amount of characters in the comics, and a handful of them in the Arkham series, but those characters were mostly wasted. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay guys, but before we talk about this further, I want to tell you about this game I've been playing that has a lot of content, Raid Shadow Legends. This immersive free-to-play fantasy RPG features a captivating storyline and online PvP. You can explore a visually stunning fantasy world now featuring over 800 champions across 15 playable factions. Raid Shadow Legends is available for Android, iOS, and PC, and you can download and try the game for free using my link or by scanning the QR code to receive some awesome heroes. And this is only the initial bonus, there's more to talk about. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, has arrived in Raid Shadow Legends. A lot of you know that I have a degree in education and literary studies, so something I personally found really cool is that Sun Wukong is inspired by the real-life mythology of the Monkey King. He's known for having superhuman abilities, high intelligence, and cunning trickery. In Raid, he's a super strong legendary hero who has impressive strength, speed, and prowess. The Monkey King is not only impressive, he's also free for a limited time only. To receive the Monkey King, you need to use the code MONKEYKING within 72 hours of registering, and you must register using the link provided in this video. To redeem promo codes, tap on the tab on the left-hand side of the screen, select the promo codes option, type in your promo code, and hit confirm. You will receive confirmation if your entry was successful, and you can then claim your rewards from your inbox. I'm genuinely impressed by the graphics of Raid. The mobile games I've played never really looked as good as Raid's graphics do, and the art direction and attention to detail, along with the awesome inspiration from mythology, is something I really enjoy, and each champion has unique skills that can help you towards your goals. Download and try the game for free using my link in the video description and pinned comment, or scan the QR code and receive an amazing starter of 2 epic heroes and a rare hero for free. Thank you so much to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring my video. This means a lot to creators like me, and it helps us out so much, so be sure to check out Raid today to play this fun fantasy RPG. We can really run through a lot of different characters in the Batman Arkham franchise, and most of them are done pretty well. There's very few that are just a complete dropped ball, but the Batman Arkham Bat family is a group that really could have used more development. I remember when I was a kid, and we actually heard from Oracle, we heard from Alfred, we heard from some of these characters in Arkham Asylum, and you knew that they were out there, but you knew that this story focused on Batman, so you'd probably see them either in a sequel, or even if you didn't, you just knew they were out there. Even if this was a one-off game, it was just like, that's great, love these characters, glad to see that they're out there. And then moving into Arkham City, there was the opportunity to do a lot more with it. We saw that Catwoman was going to be playable. There was actually the announcement of a pre-order bonus to play as Robin, and a lot of people were thinking, okay, they're really expanding the universe here. They're doing a lot to actually branch out from Batman and just, Joker. They're doing a lot to actually just move out from those two characters alone and focus on the bigger picture. Except, as much as I love this series, as much as I love Arkham City in particular, they really didn't in some ways. Yes, they did expand, they focused a little bit more on Mr. Freeze. They went in on the Penguin, seeing what he was up to with the Iceberg Lounge. We got to see a very big cross-section of Gotham City with Arkham City itself. We got to see a plot by Hugo Strange. Oftentimes the villains in these games were done very, very well. Not just Joker. I think there's this misconception that Joker is the only fleshed out villain. I don't agree with that. I think that's very false. But he is the most fleshed out, so the spotlight was usually on him. But when it came to the Bat family, there were so many opportunities to branch out and go into these other characters. When Robin was actually confirmed as playable, a lot of people were thinking, okay, well, there's probably going to be a bunch of story around Robin. And there really wasn't. There is a short epilogue, obviously, in DLC format with Harley Quinn's Revenge, where you play as Robin for most of that DLC. You do get a little characterization around him, and it is fun. He has a really great design with the hood and the tactical armor. I was always a fan of the Arkham City design for him, and I like his character interactions that he does have, but for the most part, it's just a one-off. You play as him a little bit, and it's over. Ironically, Catwoman, who is basically a part of the Bat family if you're actually looking at the comics, so I count her here, is expanded on way more than any other side character tied to the Bat family in Batman Arkham City. Catwoman actually gets several different character development moments. She actually is able to save the day for Batman, and you know what? She's fun to play as. I always really liked her sultry, sleek movements, and I thought that the character was done well. But even with her, she's a character that there were so many opportunities to expand upon after Arkham City that we didn't really get. She barely shows up in Night, just gets a little Arkham episode, and that's about it, other than a couple of playable fights where you can switch to her from Batman, but not much else. That's it, really. And that's kind of a pattern that we see of a lot of these characters, where it's ironic that Catwoman is one of the most expanded upon Bat family characters, and yet she gets so little screen time compared to Batman. And now, to be fair, this is Batman Arkham, right? I understand that completely. But something that I love about a lot of stories, whether it be Batman the Brave and the Bold, the Batman comic book series, really most of them, the Batman DCAU series, whether it be the original adventures or the new adventures, a lot of these things do a good job of focusing on side characters as well. You know, side villains will get entire episodes, or maybe, you know, there will be a whole episode focused around what Batgirl is going through. I mean, hell, even Harvey Bullock got focused episodes in the original DCAU. They did a good job of world building and expanding on those characters. But when it came to the Bat family, it felt like they were always playing not even second fiddle, something like 12th fiddle to Batman. They barely had any moves compared to the Caped Crusader. They had a fraction of his gadgets. They didn't have as good a stealth in a lot of situations, and really they were just there as a little bonus. What I think really sucks is that a lot of these playable characters, when they do have their own gadgets, they are fairly unique. I mean, yes, Azrael in Batman Arkham Knight is pretty much just a Batman clone, but characters like Tim Drake's Robin, they have a unique shield. Characters like Nightwing with his Eskrima sticks. You know, when they were introduced in Arkham City, I think a lot of people thought, okay, well, maybe it wasn't the best here, but they're playable. You know, they're going to expand on that, they're going to do more. And yet at the end of the series, you kind of look back, and very few of them are. Yes, they're fun to play as, but they're not very in-depth compared to Batman himself, and it just feels to me like a missed opportunity. I think Rocksteady and WB Games especially really showed their chops. They showed what they were capable of when they made Batman Arkham Knight a matter of family. This was not a huge DLC, but it was a smaller DLC focused on a theme park, essentially a theme park that never opened, and it focused on Batgirl and the Joker. Tim Drake's Robin was there, but it wasn't really focused entirely on him. He was just a supporting character. But this actually did a really good job of expanding on Barbara Gordon. It was really fun to actually see a story from her point of view, and it was a little bit bigger in depth and scope than Harley Quinn's Revenge was from Batman Arkham City. Unfortunately, it's sort of a one-off. The other Arkham episodes that we actually see in this game, they're pretty short for the most part. They don't really do too much to expand on the characters. If anything, they're just tiny little glimpses into their life. And yet so many of the comments and opinions and feedback that I see from people when they're talking about these games is how much they wish things like Gotham Knights had been in this continuity. And maybe this would be an interesting topic to go back to in the future. It's something I talked about actually all the way back in 2020, before we even knew what Gotham Knights really was, essentially when we thought that it was going to be Arkham Legacy, and why kind of we were thinking, well, maybe it should be part of the universe, maybe it shouldn't be. But a big thing I've seen since then, since the game came out for Gotham Knights, and since, of course, Arkham has been left a little bit in the rearview mirror with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League coming out, a big opinion I've seen is, hey, maybe that would have been a good idea to put that in the Batman Arkham series. You would have actually had an expansion of characters like Nightwing, you know, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake's Robin, Barbara Gordon's Batgirl, and even Jason Todd's Red Hood. Again, that's probably a topic for another day, maybe a different video entirely about how I would rewrite that game to include it in that timeline, what I would have done for it, or if it would have worked. You know, just as an amateur writer myself, not a video game maker, of course. But I do think that from a fan perspective, that's something that threw salt on the wound. People were waiting for a lot of years to see, okay, let's see a little bit more of Barbara. Oh, cool, we get Matter of Family, oh neat. There's a little bit of a Killing Joke-esque flashback in Batman Arkham Knight where Batman sees what happened to her, how she got paralyzed. Okay, that's awesome. Well, maybe we're gonna see even more. What's gonna happen now that Batman is gone at the end of Arkham Knight? And I say gone with quotation marks. You know, because they were waiting. A lot of people were waiting to see this kind of stuff. And then we get these little playable tastes of Red Hood, Batgirl, Catwoman, all these characters, and so few of them actually got substantial screen time, so few of them got substantial dialogue. Even teaming up with Nightwing in Batman Arkham Knight, it was some of the best character interactions between two characters in the game, having Bruce and Dick actually talk to each other, and having all of this impending doom around the Joker. And I think that's what sucks, is that there were so many of these moments where we got to see glimpses of greatness. You know, you would play as the character and you'd see the eskrima sticks, you'd see different combat moves, you would see different characterizations, and you'd think, wow, imagine if Rocksteady made a Nightwing game, or wow, I just played through the little Red Hood DLC episode. Imagine if they made a Red Hood game, or even Batgirl. When people are playing in Matter of Family and they're saying, wow, tons of characterization around Barbara. I love this stuff. Whoa, a younger Joker, but not as young as in Origins. This is really interesting because Origins wasn't able to get into this stuff at all. This is Batman before he even has a Robin, until you get to the multiplayer, of course, with Dick Grayson's Robin. It's just him kind of on his own, learning to work together with people, learning to make friends with Jim Gordon, learning to listen to Alfred, learning to actually take advice and be willing to take anyone under his wing, let alone let anyone help him. And then he's learning his lesson about that over the course of the game. So it's like, people were waiting for that. They were waiting for that really, I think, since Asylum. And City didn't really do it. It gave you a little taste. Origins couldn't do it because it was too early. Origins Blackgate, that a lot of people don't even mention anymore for some reason. I know it's a very different game, but it's still an interesting expansion of the world. With that, they got into a little bit of the relationship with Batman and Catwoman, but again, that was about it. And so it really feels like a lot of these Bat family dynamics are not fully fleshed out. And yes, they are three-dimensional if you want to read further into them in terms of thinking, oh yes, there's obviously a lot of emotion behind these lines, but even when they are three-dimensional, it feels like Rocksteady didn't understand how to write a few of these characters. A great example of that is Tim Drake being randomly romantically paired up with Barbara Gordon. I see a lot of complaints whenever the DCAU comes up and people are like, that dang Bruce Timm with his Barbara Gordon and his Bruce Wayne fantasies where she's into him in Mystery of the Batwoman, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're together in Return of the Joker, and then there's the comics, which you can kind of ignore or accept, whatever you want, and people get mad about it, right? But I don't really see a lot of people talk about how badly it is written to just randomly mash together Tim Drake and Barbara Gordon. It just didn't really make any sense. It's just not something that's usually done, and it just doesn't really fit him or her for the most part. And even if it did, we didn't really get to know them well enough to know that it fits them. It just feels like they thought, well, Barbara's with a Robin, right? What about this one? And then they just kind of make it happen. There's just a lot of missed opportunities around these characters, which really sucks because I think that when you play as them, they're fun. When you hear them talking, they are likable, they are interesting. A lot of them are more personable and likable even than Batman himself, because they're actually just outwardly nice and not as brooding and rude. But it's frustrating to me how many great characters there were around these games that didn't really get a fair shake. I think I could ignore it a little better if they were all on equal footing, kind of, in terms of fun gameplay as Batman. I do understand why they are not, because of course, you're probably not going to put the same amount of time and depth into these characters as you are into the character you play as for the entire story. But it still, again, made some of those combat maps and those Predator maps a little less fun than they could have been, and that's ignoring the story implications as well. I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. This is something I'm very passionate about. I remember when I was a kid and it was announced, hey, Robin's gonna be playable in Arkham City. It like opened up a whole new world of opportunities in my brain. As a kid, I didn't even want to be Batman. I wanted to be Robin, not because he's cooler, but because I wanted to be the guy training under Batman. I wanted to be Batman's friend, you know, the guy who Batman helps and who gets to help Batman. So when Robin was announced, I was like, oh boy, and then it just didn't really go too far. It just bums me out a little bit, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And I also want to say thank you so much again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. It means a lot to me, and I hope you'll check out Raid by using the QR code or the link in the description and the pinned comment to download the game and use the promo code Monkey King to get access to the legendary hero Sun Wukong. Thanks again to Raid, and thank you all for watching. And as always everyone, stay shui.